from Southern Maryland's weather leader. This is a JB Weather Report.
Good Thursday evening, and I'm forecaster John Bordash with you in the JB Weather Center, continuing to track our upcoming winter storm that is set to impact the region as we head into Sunday. We're going to be looking at high impacts from both cold, snow, and ice, and now is going to be the time to prepare as all three of those begin to move into the region over the next 72 hours. Before we get to the winter storm, let's take a look first at that Arctic cold air. Tomorrow, the temperatures will likely max out in the 30s before Arctic air comes rushing in on the heels of gusty northwest winds. Lows Friday night into Saturday morning will likely be down into the teens to single digits, but those gusts up to 25 miles per hour will make it feel like we are below zero at times Saturday morning. Take a look at this. -4 for a feels-like temperature in Leonardtown, -11 on up towards Westminster, -20 even on out towards Oakland. This is why there is a cold weather advisory in effect from about 8 p.m. on Friday through about 10 a.m. on Saturday. And this is going to be the area across the mid-Atlantic where we could see frostbite and hypothermia impacts for those left exposed outdoors. That Arctic air isn't just going to go away either. It's going to linger with us over the next week, potentially 2 weeks, as we start to transition over to February. But then our attention will turn to the upcoming winter storm. And I showed this yesterday, and I do still think the European model has a pretty good handle on this, where we are looking at an area low pressure that will transfer its energy to the coast, and that energy transfer and redevelopment will help spread snow and eventually even ice across much of the mid-Atlantic. Let me show you how our future view model is handling this. This is the latest run that just came into the Weather Center just a couple of minutes ago. And what we can see is our model here has snow developing across the region as we push closer towards midnight on Saturday. Snow will develop first for southwestern areas before eventually pushing on up to the north. I think by the time we get towards midnight, snow is going to be widespread across the region, and we're going to start to look at that snow become heavy at times Sunday morning for just about everyone. You will notice that areas of deeper purple or blue start to move in across the region, representing those higher snowfall rates, and this is 9 a.m. on Sunday when several inches of snow could have fallen. What you will begin to notice is that area of pink begin to move north and west, representing that transition to sleet and freezing rain. Our in-house model, our Cedar Point Federal Credit Union Future View, really is on the colder side of potential solutions. Not saying that it's wrong, but in contrast, our European model brings that same mixing area much further north and west, past Baltimore, near York, Pennsylvania, as we head towards Sunday at about 6 p.m. But precip will continue with us as we head into the evening hours, potentially a transition back to snow early Monday morning before we see snow get out of here by sunrise on Monday. So this is a long duration event. It is not just an 8 or a 10-hour event. Precip will be with us for just about 24 plus hours. I think generally if we had to summarize that future view run, I think areas well northwest of I-95 have the best likelihood of staying all snow, and that's where you could be looking at a foot plus worth of snow. I think that sleet line might get as far northwest as Lancaster, York, down towards Westminster, Frederick, Warrenton, Leesburg, all the way down to Harrisonburg, and that's where you're going to be looking at that layer of temperatures that get above 32, well above the surface. And what that's going to do is take those initial snowflakes, melt them briefly, and then as they re-enter freezing air, they form as ice pellets. It is only when that warm air layer becomes a little bit larger that those melted snowflakes never really have a chance to refreeze into ice pellets, so they stay raindrops and create that ice glaze. I am the most concerned about that along into the southeast of I-95. I think everyone starts as heavy snow Sunday morning, but by midday, those pink areas will have transitioned to sleet and then over to freezing rain. And that transition to sleet will occur throughout the afternoon for the purple shaded areas. As we take a look at the first call forecast, I'm generally thinking about 8 to 14 inches well north and west across portions of western Maryland, West Virginia, northern Virginia, extending northward into central Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, into New England. This is where you stay all snow and you can really pile it up, and it's going to be in the teens and 20s throughout the storm up there. This is an area that could see even potentially some jackpot totals over 14 inches, closer to maybe a foot and a half. You have areas that start to mix with sleet on the southwestern and southeastern portions of that zone. That area there in blue, I think sees about 5 to 10 inches. Definitely could see more than that. This is just a baseline on which to work off of. And I think, again, I-95 will be a good dividing line. You could still squeeze out about 4 to 8 inches of snow across portions of the northern neck, southern Maryland, into the Delmarva, with lower totals as you head south and east thanks to warmer air moving in down there. But again, significant impacts are expected. We're talking ice, and this is generally what I'm thinking for when we are looking at ice. I think up to about 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice accretion, that freezing rain accumulation is possible. When we talk about ice forecasting, this is like the ice glaze part, not the ice pellets. That's where you can really start to weigh down branches and potentially snap them. When we look at ice totals potentially getting up over 1/10 of an inch, getting near a quarter or a half inch, that is when we're talking about widespread icing and higher impacts. When we think back to the ice storms of the early 90s, those brought ice totals closer to half an inch to an inch plus to the region. This I don't think is on that level just yet, but this is a part of the forecast that continues to get refined as we learn more. And if anything, this ice forecast definitely has the potential to increase, and that could start to introduce the idea of potentially some power outages, which again is why we want to start preparing for this winter storm. If we look at the timing of this storm, I think we're going to be looking at the highest impacts from it, really from about what would be sunrise on Sunday, about, as my middle school students would say, about 6 or 7 in the morning there on Sunday, lasting through about 6 or 7 in the evening on Sunday as well. I think that's when we're going to be looking at heavy snow that transitions then eventually over to sleet. I do think that everybody has the potential to see upwards of 5 to 6 hours of snow accumulation that could fall at a rate of 1 and in some locations potentially up to 2 inches an hour. That's why when you get heavy snow rates like that, the longer you hold on to that, the higher the snow totals will be. That makes sense, and that's the most likely to happen northwest of 95, but temperatures stay in the 20s throughout this event. This is not going to be one where we jet up into the 40s before we see cold air come crashing back. If we were to summarize this, again, the timing, I think this is really a Sunday event. I think Sunday morning before lunch is more snow focused. Sunday after lunch is looking a lot more sleet and freezing rain focused. I think that good thump of snow will honestly give just about everyone about 6 inches worth of snow, even in southern parts of St. Mary's County. However, you're only going to be getting those 12-inch plus amounts where you can hold on to that good thump of snow, and that's most likely going to be in western Maryland and central Pennsylvania. We're going to continue to watch those ice impacts as that transition to sleet pellets and then freezing rain could bring upwards of half an inch of ice to some locations. I think the highest ice totals are across central Virginia, but we will need to track and see if those can sneak up into southern Maryland as well. It'll be important to stay with JB Weather for the latest information over the next 48 to 72 hours as this high impact winter storm moves in. I took tomorrow off to track the weather, so I will be here in the weather center throughout your day on Friday and throughout the weekend tracking the latest information with this winter storm, our biggest potentially in several years, and for some of us in nearly a decade. In the meantime, though, I'm forecaster John Bordash. Thank you for joining me this evening. Have a nice and safe one, and please keep it tuned right here to JB Weather for the latest information.
Check the forecast anytime online at jbweather.net.